Shalom Israel. It's your brother Marcus G back with yet another truth for thought. First and foremost, I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. Secondly, I know it was kind of sudden and late notice as far as the GoFundMe that I started in regards to me being there in support of our beloved sister, Queen Alicia, for her surgical procedure that she's having on the 13th, which will be a 5 to 6 hour procedure, a major surgery as far as the length of time and being under anesthesia for such a long amount of time. There are major surgeries that last as little as 2.5 to 3 hours. This is double that time in a surgical procedure. So I do have the link for the GoFundMe down in the description. Again, this Sabbath, I have already booked my flight. The flight has been booked. And I look to book my lodging between Monday. First, let me give you my itinerary. I leave Tennessee and fly to Colorado for a 9.5-hour layover. I literally land in Denver, Colorado at around 3:30 on the 12th, to then lay over for 9.5 hours, to then fly for another 5 hours. Leave at about 12:20, 12:30, to then fly straight to Philadelphia. It's going to be a long journey for me. However, for my nation, it's not that long at all. For my beloved sister and my beloved brother, it's not that long a journey at all. So I will be going live on Instagram about 30 minutes prior to leaving Tennessee. As soon as I touch down in Denver, and about an hour to 30 minutes prior to leaving Denver, heading to Philadelphia, and I will go live again as soon as I touch down in Philadelphia. I do ask that if you can be charitable towards the GoFundMe, please do. If you cannot, that is fine. I'm asking that you simply keep in prayer our beloved sister, Queen Alicia, and her husband, King Michael. That I do ask the whole nation. All right. Beyond that, there's someone else I want to ask of you, Israel, to keep in prayer. Queen Shay. Queen Shay has an upcoming trying time that is upcoming in her life. And she too, is another beloved sister. I speak to these people. I speak to a lot. In fact, I spoke with Queen Shay just yesterday. Keep her in prayer. I ask the nation, keep her in prayer. Again, her thing that is set to come up, her event that's set to come up is set to come up in the world's New Year in January. And I asked it, as well as all of Israel, we need to keep each other wrapped in prayer. All right. It's just these 3 individuals I could come up with Queen Paula and her family. Keep them in prayer. I have been in a blessed, the Most High has put me in a position to see him hard at work within her family. Keep her in prayer. So, yeah, Israel, keep our nation in prayer as there is a lot of power in prayer and fasting. And with that, on the 13th, I myself will be fasting and praying. So as soon as I touch down in Philadelphia at 6:30 a.m., I will be fasting for at least 24 hours. I ask of the nation, if you would please join me in fasting and praying for our beloved sister, Queen Alicia, and her husband, King Michael. They have been going through this medical incident ever since February. And it looks like it's about to be nipped in the bud, for lack of better terms. But I personally will be there, be it the Most High's will be there. And as a show of support, as I have been there, walking this walk with them ever since about June or July of this year. They've been dealing with this ever since February of this year. So I ask that the nation join me as I do fast and pray upon touching down in Philadelphia for and in order to support our beloved sister and brother, as it has been a long, trying road for them in regards to this issue. Now, with that said, the title of this Truth for Thought is very befitting, as you will come to find. However, before I address that of today's time, which America is known as America today, I want to address events leading to today's time. All right. And with doing that, I want to go to the Bible. So if you would please turn with me in your 1611 King James Version of the Bible with the Apocrypha. And I'm going to share my screen so that I can have the scriptures up as I'm reading them. And we're going to start with Deuteronomy 28:15. This is a key, integral part, or a key, intricate point leading towards the title of this Truth for Thought in regards to certain Israelites. Okay, certain Israelites. All right, I want to make that be known. Well, actually, in regards to all Israelites, because some of all the tribes are over here. Or every tribe is over here. Some of every tribe. So, in regard to Israelites, this particular, and I'm going to get 15 through 68, but I'm going to be jumping around in the Bible for certain things. But I want to start with Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. Now, again, like I said, in order to understand today, one must understand all events of the past that led to today. All right. So Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. And it reads, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." Now, this was to Israel or the Israelites of old, right? Now, it's obvious that they had a decision, because if you read Deuteronomy 28 and 1, it says, it talks about the promises if Israel did all the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. So there was a decision to be made. But before I go into that, I want to go to Leviticus 22 and 31, because there was a word, and you all have to excuse me, I'm very meticulous and very observant about words. When I see possessive pronouns, possessive nouns, I key in on them, like our God or my people. I tend to key in on them. In this particular verse, it says to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. So let's go to, we're going to get a couple of precepts. Let's go to Leviticus, the book of the laws. We're going to get chapter 22 and verse 31. Leviticus chapter 22 and verse 31. And it reads, "Therefore shall ye keep my commandments and do them. I am the Lord." Now let's still in the book of Leviticus. We're going to go to chapter 26. And we're going to get verse 3. "If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them," verse 4, "then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit." Basically, and the Most High is imploring Israel, just walk in my laws, statutes, and commandments. Just do that. So let's drop down still in Leviticus chapter 26, and we're going to get verses 14 through 16. "But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments," that word abhor means hate. So basically, if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul hate my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. This is a direct reference back to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. This is an affirmation of the curses. It's affirming these curses will happen. So now I want to go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. And it reads, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me. This is a commandment." Now you're going to say, I'm sure some people are going to wonder, okay, why did he go to this? Well, I'm going over this because I'm going to go over an account where this commandment, and I'm going to get some precepts to this commandment, were broken by Israel. And then we're going to go back and read the curses. Because at this point in time, once we transgress or don't keep the commandments, at this particular point in time, we have chose the option of verse 15. So this is what our forefathers did. All right. So now let's go to Exodus 23 and verse 24. And it reads, "Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images." This is further saying, do not serve another god. In fact, if you see another god, you're supposed to break their stuff down. All right. Let's go, still in Exodus 23, we're going to go down to verses 32 and 33. "Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods." Again, this is going over basically idolatry. Idolatry has been a thorn in Israel's side for a long time. A long time. Verse 33, "They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. If thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee." And this held true as due to idolatry, as we're about to see. We're about to go over an account. Due to idolatry by our forefathers, it was a snare unto us. It was a snare, and it's one of the reasons the curses happened. Because we read back in Deuteronomy 28 and 15, it says to do all the commandments. One of the commandments is thou shalt not serve another god. So now we're going to look at this account, and we're going to see Israel break this commandment. It's recorded. Israel broke the commandment of putting another god before the Most High. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 6. Ezekiel chapter 6. And we're going to get verses 1 through 13. Almost the whole chapter. And we're going to kind of go through it. But let's just see what Israel did and the reaction it got from the Most High. Ezekiel chapter 6 and verse 1, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the mountains of Israel and prophesy against them." We done did something bad. Because normally when the Most High sends someone, he sent someone to Mount Seir to prophesy against them. Just last week, I went over to Nineveh, and we saw where Jonah was sent there to prophesy against them because of their wickedness. Mount Seir, we're going to see some of the things that the descendants of the people from Mount Seir who conquered the original cave dwellers known as the Horites. You're going to see some things that these people have done in modern day. It's part of their history, part of their American history. We're gonna get some very real historical accounts, true historical accounts. All right. So, verse 3, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord God. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountain and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys. Behold, I, even I, will bring a sword upon you, and I will destroy your high places, and your altars shall be desolate, and your images shall be broken down. And I will cast down your slain men before your idols. The Most High is angry, but this is a jealous God. It's a great, mighty, terrible, jealous God. This is our God. And he's very jealous. But our forefathers, again, I say this to you, Israel, idolatry has been a thorn in Israel's side for a long time. So they were idolizing other gods. They had idols, other gods. Verse 5, and I will lay the dead carcasses of the children of Israel before their idols, and I will scatter your bones round about your altars in all your dwelling places. The city shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations. So this remnant will escape and be amongst the nations, which ye shall be scattered through the country. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whither they shall be carried captives. Keep all this in mind, because we're going to go back to the curses, and you're going to see where this very well happened. So this was before the curses were instituted. Let's keep reading. Because I am broken with their whorish heart, which have departed from me, and with their eyes, which go a whoring after their idols, and they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. And they shall know that I am the Lord, and that I have not said in vain that I will do this evil unto them. There is a bunch of judgment going on right now today. And a lot of people keep saying, yeah, you know, the devil hard at work. No, the Most High creates all things, good and evil. That's who's doing this. So when you get on Instagram and you see all these people who appear to be of Israelite descent dying these very violent deaths, that's not Hasatan. That family is the Most High at work. All right. Understand that. Christianity will teach you that everything bad is all Hasatan or Satan or the devil. Or there are too many scriptures that prove the Most High is who created this. He did this. These are judgments of his. I've not yet read in the Bible about a judgment passed by Satan. If someone has, please read. Please, I implore you, send it to me. even with Yahweh Shai, if he had power like that, right? Let's just what if, and we can what if till we're blue in the face. But if he had power like that, he came to Yahweh Shai 3 times. Why tempt him? Why not just do something to him? I mean, he can pass judgment. That's if he in actuality could pass judgment, but he can't. Be ye not deceived, Israel. Anything that Satan does has to be cleared by a higher power, by the Most High. Outside of that, he's just as powerless as he was an angel, right? He had, and being an angel, he has certain powers. I'm not going to say that he doesn't have certain powers, but powers like what people are saying, like judgment, no, he has no power of judgment. Power of manipulation, now he can manipulate many. Powers of deception, he can deceive many. But the power of judgment, I've yet to read it. Yet to read it. Let me keep going. Thus saith the Lord God, smite with thine hand and stamp with thy foot and say, alas, for all the evil abominations of the house of Israel, for they shall fall by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. He that is far off shall die of the pestilence, and he that is near shall fall by the sword, and he that remaineth and is besieged shall die by the famine. Thus will I accomplish my fury upon them. Then shall ye know that I am the Lord, when their slain men shall be among their idols. Again, he's saying this in regards to the idolatry of Israel. Round about their altars, upon every high hill, in all the tops of the mountains, and under every green tree, and under every thick oak, the place where they did offer sweet savor to all their idols. So it's basically just saying, I'm going to lay you where you stand. And since you want to stand in front of these idols, I'm going to lay your ass down right there. But he did say in verse 8, yet will I leave a remnant that ye may have, that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered among the countries. All right. So remember that. That's going to be in the curses as well. So now I want to go back to Leviticus 26. We're going to go through verses 14 and 16 again. Leviticus 26, Leviticus 26, and we're getting 14 through 16. Because again, I really, really want you to understand, Israel, that a lot of the things that we're going to go over today, even though it happened here in the quote unquote Americas, they happened for a reason. There were events that led to it. All right. And this, in actuality, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually holding my forefathers accountable. I am literally holding them accountable. However, I am going to go over some real American history. Whether you learned it or not, this really happened. All right. So Leviticus 26 and 14, but if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant. Now I want you to think about what we just read in Ezekiel 6. That was definitely a breaking of a commandment, thus a breaking of the covenant. Verse 16, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror. Keep these words in mind: terror, consumption, and the burning egg that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And ye shall sow your soul in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. All of that you're going to see in the accounts over American history. You're going to see all of that. You're going to see a bunch of what we're going to go back over now. We're going to go back to Deuteronomy 28. We're going to get verse 16 through 68. We're going to go on and just run through them. Because I know people have probably read them over and over and over. And that's I would too. I do too. I always recall. It's a motivating factor for me to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. It is definitely I can literally look back in the past with the Bible and look at the present. I can look at the past with Deuteronomy 28. And I can look at the past starting with Deuteronomy 28 and moving forward in time through many other enslavements, through many other slayings and massacres, all the way up to today. And I promise you, it is a motivating factor for me. Might not be for you, and that's okay. But as for me, it is a motivating factor for me to walk in his law, statutes, commandments, and judgments. Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. There are many examples that can be given of those that have truly happened, even in American history. The picking of cotton, tobacco, that's in a field. The numerous brutalities, police brutality cases, lynches. We're going to talk about some of these things. We're going to talk about recorded numbers of these things. Because if you notice in 15, at the very end of Deuteronomy 28 and 15, it says that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. We're going to show how overtaken Israel has been in American history. I promise you. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, and increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. It just doesn't even matter. Going to and fro. Cursed. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexations, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Perish quickly. Boy, those words, I'm telling you, motivating factor for me. Not that I'm scared of death, or I know my body is going to come to a demise. But I've always told people I'm one who would rather to prevent a problem than to treat a problem. Verse 21, the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. I've been doing medical insights for you, Israel. A lot of these disease processes and disorders, and we just followed the dietary law. Mm, mm, mm. Because inflammation can be prevented, but now we got to treat it. Let me just keep going. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Even when you fight Israel, because of this curse, even when we would fight, because I want to look at it from a past tense towards the future, even when we fought the heathen nations, it always resulted in us fleeing the opposite way, many opposite ways. In fact, if you read Ezekiel 7, just one chapter over from Ezekiel 6, where we did read, you'll see where Israel started fleeing into the mountain. Let me keep going. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. There are some instances we're going to go over where you'll see that is very true. They would kill Israelites dead in the street and leave them now. Leave them now. All the buzzers got something to eat now. Yeah, that we ain't doing nothing but feeding the vultures. Fowls of the air. And unto the beasts of the earth. All the coyote will eat them. Yeah, just leave it there. The coyotes will eat them. Yeah, they'll finish it off. We don't even got to clean this mess up. We'll let the animals clean it up. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt and the emerods, and with scab, and with the itch whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed, and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save. I want to repeat the second half of that verse again. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife to the kings and the princes. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. The love of your life, to know another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. The pyramids. How many of the Israelites resided in the pyramids that they built? How many Israelites today, right? During slavery, you know, um, all the slaves were referred to the master's house as the big house. How many Israelites today live in the big house, a mansion? But the blood of your people, the blood of your people, made those big houses, sustained the economy for more slave masters to own more the big houses. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. That's crazy to think of. Just think about that. Because I remember I was a kid, and my mama, she would buy groceries, right? She'd go to work, make some money to buy some groceries. And it was always this one thing that my mom just loved these, back in the day, stage planks. Y'all can eat everything else. Don't eat the stage plank. I worked hard. That's my little treat for me. Man, if one of us ate and, that's the exact word I want to use, and stage plank, oh boy, you were so. If you was lucky, you was so for a week. But just think, property that's yours is never yours. You live in that today. Even if, let's say you purchased a house, right? Let's say you paid your house off in January, around January, February of the world's year, right? If you don't pay taxes and you don't do that enough time, they come take, quote unquote, your house, don't they? So do you own your house? And it kills me that my people say, well, we live in America, we free. I'm going to tell you, there are deer that live in America, right? They don't pay a cent for any water that they drink. Do you have a water bill? Let's just compare you to something that's free. And even deer, for a certain amount of months, they are legally hunted. But deer are free. They are free. Oh, any other part of the year to come and go as they please, for lack of a better term, except those 3 to 4 months. But everywhere that a deer drinks from, that water is free. How much was your water bill last month? And I know some gonna say, I ain't got no water bill. I stay in an apartment. But in my apartment lease, I pay for my water. So again, in comparison to something that, even though it too gets hunted legally, a certain part of the year, it is actually called free, quote unquote free. It don't pay for no water. Why? How are you free and you have to pay for even water you drink? It just, my people, And they just stand there and look dumbfounded when I ask them things like this. So then it should be no surprise as when my people say it to me, I look just as dumbfounded, like, what the fuck do you mean? How exactly are you free? Right? How explain to me how you're free. I can literally explain to you in this chapter alone how you're cursed. So explain to me how you're free. In no shape, form, or fashion are you free. Just I'm just gonna if you don't, if you didn't know until now, I am definitely here to let you know. In no shape, form, or fashion, if you reside in quote unquote America, are you free? You put tags. Let's go back to the deer again. When you hunt deer, you tag them. It's called a tag. It's a way of them tracing that you indeed killed that deer. It's how they keep up with or account for how many deer you killed in the hunting season. How many tags are there on you? What is your social security number? What is your driver's license number? Do you have a birth certificate? These are all tags on you. It's how they keep an eye on you. Just like tags for deer, that's how they keep an eye on how many deer you've killed in the season. But you're so free that they keep tabs on you through your social security number, your driver's license number. Look, you could just have an ID, your ID number. If you have a state ID, it literally has a number that they keep tabs on you by. Yet you say you attest to the notion, and that's all that it is a sheer notion that you are free. Okay, I'm gonna show you some American history. I'm gonna show you how free you are. I'm gonna show you just how free you are. Let me keep going. I'm gonna reread verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from you. Kind of like that house you didn't pay taxes on last year. And it was the third time you didn't pay taxes. So they started with a tax lien on the second year. That third year, they took it from you, but you say you owned your house. Just 4 years ago, yeah, girl, I own my house. You come on by here anytime. That's how free y'all shall be violently taken away from before thy face and shall not be restored unto thee. Once they take your house, the only way that you can get it back, you got to pay all the money they asking for, and now penalty fee. If you didn't have it on the year-to-year basis, you definitely not gonna have it in a collective plus penalty fee. Are you not getting it back? It will not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. You ain't gonna have no say so. It literally says your kid is gonna be taken. You have no say so. There is a system in place right now that does just that. They're giving names like Child Protective Services and Department of Human Services, and they kind of specialize in the taking of individuals' children. That's right now today. The majority of those children taken, and you can do the research yourself, you're going to see are of people that fit the description of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's the majority of the ones. Now, I'm not going to say that some of the heathen nations don't get caught up in that. But the key to what I said was the majority of the cases. Let me keep going. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat of, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. We still living that today here in America. Now, the likelihood of this is slim to none, but I'm pretty sure as my forefathers were picking the cotton out of the fields, they didn't get shirts made from that very same cotton at all. No, that went towards short shirts for other nations. That went towards pants for other nations. Because my people, they were oppressed and crushed always, still to this day. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. So it angers you, right? Most High said you'll be angry. In fact, you know what? I want to get a precept to that. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 7. We're gonna get a precept for that. I was gonna bring this precept out on down the line, but I'm gonna get this. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Now let's go back to Deuteronomy. Go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I think we were at 34. Now, we just read that surely oppression will make a wise man mad. Let's read this again. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. For all that this shit that we finna see today, I'm sure it's gonna be some people that's gonna be angry. There are gonna be some wise people that are gonna be extremely angry. But those people gonna fit these curses, I bet you. And these curses was only for a certain people. Let me keep reading. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs, and with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. That has been happening ever since. That's been happening ever since Egypt. They had sun god Ra and all that shit. Then the Assyrian captivity, they started bringing they little paganistic shit in the Babylonian captivity, ancient Babylonian captivity. Oh, and I skipped the Persians and the Medes. I apologize. Prior to the Assyrians was the Persians and the Medes. Then the Babylonian captivity, then the Greek captivity, then the Roman. During all of those dominions, man, The same thing's been happening to the same damn people. Let me just keep going. This next one, we gonna touch on this today. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine. Like I said about the picking in the cotton field, but that cotton didn't make a shirt for our forefathers that picked it. I'm sorry, that wasn't the case. But shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all the coast, but shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. And I still don't get how people do not understand who these people are. Even if you don't refer to these people as Israelites. Even if you just use the proverbs and the bywords that the world refers to these people today as. People still don't understand who these people are. You don't have to call them by their tribe names as the 12 tribes of Israel. They still don't know who these people are. They'll say it's Amalek. How? We ain't even read all of them yet. I'm already saying how. I've not recalled one time Amalek being recorded as being cursed in the field in the city. And when I say in the field, I mean they're out there working in the field because they're cursed. I've not seen a historical document yet. If you do not know who Amalek is, that would be your Jew-ish, the who wish they were the originals. That man. Let me keep going. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Again, how this can be Amalek, I don't know, because I promise you, the two people that are at the head of the Federal Reserve, right? They're Jewish people. And we gonna get to a verse where it's gonna say, in fact, we closely approaching it. You will borrow from them. Well, if you are the head of the National Reserve, you're not borrowing from anybody. You will be the lender. But let's keep going. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Verse 44, the very next verse. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So again, how is this Amalek when Amalek is doing the lending? I promise you, man. And people look at me confounded, and I'm like, the truth is just the truth. How is a Jewish anything, man or female, or man or woman, how do they fit these curses when it is a Jewish woman that is the head, the very top person for the Federal Reserve Bank, and just under her is a Jewish man. They do the lending. They don't ask to be lent to. Impossible for these people to be those people. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, and which he commanded thee. Again, I went over one of those law, statute, commandments. We went over an account where the Most High was addressing Israel for breaking it, and I led that way so that it would be understood why Israel landed with the curses, because we were doing shit like idolatry. It has been a thorn in Israel's side for a long, long time. But it's breaking commandments like that one. There should be no God before the Most High. Breaking those commandments that landed Israel in these curses. Not Amalek, not any other people, but the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me keep going. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. No, as we read in Ezekiel 6, our forefathers would rather worship these idols instead of worshiping the Most High with joyfulness and gladness of heart. Verse 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in all want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Who, Amalek? I want y'all, just this one verse. I want you to prove to me that you have served your enemy in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And when did you have a yoke of iron around your neck until you were destroyed? Please make this shit make sense. Make the bullshit that you let come out of the orifice of your face make sense. Let me keep going. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce continence, still talking about this same place, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. That Israel, if you reside in quote unquote America, is quote unquote America. They fit that to the T. We're going to prove that a little later on. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. This also fits the Greek dominion, the Roman dominion. Yeah, Herod was gonna have to go as far as to Egypt to kill Yahushua. And I went over that when I was talking about the Day of the Innocents in Esau, Edom. Who are they? Oh, by the way, Herod was an Amalek man. I covered that as well. how his people, how Amalek fits these curses, I promise you, it's a whole lot of questions that would have to be answered. Let me keep going. And he shall besiege thee, verse 52, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustedest thou throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be towards his brother. How many Amaleks kill each other? How many pieces? Listen, here's a challenge. In the past year, worldwide, I want somebody just to see if they can answer this. And I'm going to go and check it out myself. How many people, Amalek, how many Jewish people have killed their brother, have killed their own brother? His eyes shall be evil towards his brother, towards his wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. How many of Amalek are in single parent homes because there is no man present? This shit just don't make sense. Now, I know of a people that this definitely can apply to, and it has nothing to do with Amalek at all. And I'm not being anti-Semitic as I am of Shem. I am of that people. You want proof? I'm reading it to you. Because my people, yes, they fit these curses to the teeth. To the teeth. Let me keep going. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. How many Amalek women recorded now? Recorded historical facts. How many, and somebody please Google it, how many Jewish women have taken the lives of their daughters and sons? How many domestic violence cases are between Jewish couples? And I'm sorry, even to everyone. But I'm that meticulous with the wording. And it literally says, be evil towards her husband. That's going to lead to domestic violence. Towards her son, up to and including death. And towards her daughter. And towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in the gate. I want to ask you something. What type of people, what type of women per their biblical nationality. Who has the most abortions worldwide? Somebody Google it. I'm just out of sheer curiosity. I'm just wondering who has the most abortions. Now, I would tell you there are people that would say that Ammon and Moab fit this. I'll tell you why. It is a delicacy for them to eat stillborn children. But these children are still alive. It doesn't say that they're dead. It says, which she shall bear, and that's actively coming out. But it doesn't say anything about death. But I've heard this argument before, dumb as a motherfucker, if you ask me, but it wasn't wise to come to me with it. I killed that shit. I even explained to them why they nasty ass do shit like that. Hell, your nasty ass foremother and her sister, they raped their dad. Do you realize that your people are the first people to be recorded for rape? And then it's literally that the term that they make for it today is date rape because they got him drunk. They got him in a certain state of euphoria, so he didn't even remember what the fuck happened. So I can understand you nasty motherfuckers eating your own stillborn children. Makes no sense why somebody would come to me and say that they fit that curse. And this was a Moabite. And her little tight ass eyes, when she walked away, she was crying. She'll get over it because she was dead wrong, all the way wrong. Let me push on. I took longer on the curses than I wanted to. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Here again, there's a possessive word in thy. Now, you find this in several instances, but in direct association with only one biblical nationality, which proves again who these curses fit. That would be the house of Israel. Not the house of Moab, not the house of Ammon, house of Edom, house of Amalek, any of the 18 biblical nations. It's only one that it applies to. Let me keep going. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and thy plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continence, and sore sickness, and of long continence. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, another place that these people were in hard bondage, which thou wast afraid of. And this is where it's being referred to when they were in that hard bondage. And they shall cleave unto thee. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. That's going to get proven today. That's going to get proven. That's going to get proven. Remember that. There are some plagues that our forefathers didn't know about that was set to kill them per this curse. Keep that in mind. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven from multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. Now, remember when we was back in Ezekiel 6, and I want to say it was verse 8, it said, but I will leave a remnant, right? That's further proof. At one point in time, we were like so plentiful. But even in that account, he said, I'm going to take care of so many of y'all. I'm going to leave a remnant and they going to get scattered. All right. Let me keep going. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the heavens are for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord. Here we go with another possessive word, thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a tremble heart and a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. We're gonna see about and I'll just go on and say the tribe of Gad. Hey, those are the only people that I know that walked the trail of tears. Was no rest in that. But we're gonna read about some other things in American history as it pertains to the natives in America and American history. We're going to see if you learned this in American history, because there's some things that I didn't learn in American history I found when I went into this. Okay? And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. We're going to prove that as well today. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt hard bondage again with ships, by the whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. To that little Moab that came to me with that bullshit, when were your people, any of your people, sold for bondmen or bondwomen? To Amalek, you Jewish people, when were you sold for bondmen and bondwomen? To any other biblical nationality, when were you sold for bondmen and bondwomen in a time when you were bought into hard bondage again with ships? Again, it'll be a lot of questions for somebody to come to me and say that they are the chosen people if they don't fit the curses that the chosen people went on. So with that, so we just got the curses, right? So the reason I went into that is because these same chosen people, we're going to look at some accounts that happened to them here in what is known as, quote unquote, America. So let me stop sharing my screen. One of those curses says something about proverb being a astonishment and a proverb and a byword. I mean, you would be called a whole bunch of shit that you're not, in very, very, very layman terms. So I'm going to look at, and you're going to find all the links to all things that I utilize, as with all my truth thoughts, in the description. I'm not going to read this whole article. I will, however, read the title to you. The title of it is The Origin of the Word Indian Pertaining to American Indians. Okay? So Here you see the title of it. All right, so I'm going to go back to where I wanted to actually read from. Right here. In the Latin language of Ecclesiastes and royalty of the time, the people or children of God, as Spaniards often refer to the indigenous or the native people. Now, listen, Israel. Way back then, the Spaniards were referring to the tribe of Gad as people or children of God. And they finna prove it. I don't even have to prove it. Watch this. As Spaniards often refer to the indigenous, translate freely as Los Niños de la Indio. And consequently, or that word means ironically or coincidentally, Los Niños de la Indios, more literally, children of God. In Deo, freely of God. No country, land, sea, or people in the world were named Indians or India to be called Indians prior to 1492. Now that is relevant to understand because and this is part of American history that I learned. In 1492, a certain somebody sailed the ocean blue. And he stumbled upon a new world occupied by people that and I'm going to prove this, that he referred to as the children of God. But let's keep reading. Let's see if I'm just talking out the side of my ass. Hold on. The subcontinent of the nation and country known today as India did not become officially so named until the later arriving and permanent British presence in the 1700s. Okay? So if the people of the place known as India were not called Indians, basically the word hadn't existed for them up to that point. What they're trying to see is how did it come in 1492 that the natives here in America were called Indians? All right. The Eurasian domains of India and the various autonomous indigenous domains were prior to and at the time of 1492 known by their various proper designations as Hindustans, Turkestan, Kurdistan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. But Indian was not said until way after this, as designated by their varied original indigenous people. Hence the question, if the slang referent Indies and its consequence Indio did not surface in popular use among Spanish and Portuguese lingua until the 16th century, how could Columbus possibly spew forth from his mouth in 1492? Good question, isn't it? Now, either Columbus had knowledge of the future, which he knew that India would be called India and the people who lived in India would be called Indians, and he called these people Indians just out of sheer luck and knowing the future. Or he didn't set sail for the Indies until at least the 1500s, which is well after 1492. When he supposedly discovered America. All right, let's keep reading. When the term India and Indies was in use, this proceeding from the narrative of Bartholomew de las Casas together with the additional reports concerning his pleas to the King and Queen of Spain in behalf of the few surviving indigenous of the Caribbean, is likely as close as one is to come to comprehend the origin of the term Indio and Indian as applied to American Indian. So originally, they were not calling natives Indians, but they had bywords for them. They had proverbs for them. Let me keep going. Within one of many, listen to this, because I said I was going to prove this. Within one of many trips back to Spain from the Americas to plead with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella for the souls and lives of the indigenous people, being the natives that were in America, swiftly disappearing under the subjugating sword. Uh-oh, sound like some of these curses. Disease and slavery of the Spaniards and Portuguese. Las Casas summarily informs the royal heads of Castile that upon observing the nature and the manners of the indigenous people of Guanahani, the island that Columbus first visited, that their manners are decorous and praiseworthy. Now, this is what he's telling the king and queen, right? Of these native people in the Americas. When he sailed back from the Americas, he said their manners are decorous and praiseworthy. They are guileless and honest, with no vices among them. They have no thieves or liars among them. Now, I know that those are two commandments to certain people. Let me keep going. And they give freely of all they have, and when they have no more to give, they cry, he continues. This is a quote from him. They are truly as the children of God. Los Niños del Indio. So, I want to go from there because ultimately the natives did end up acquiring, or the world began to call them, the proverb byword of Indians. All right. So now I want to go to another people. Okay. We're going to go to the etymology. Let me show you this. This is the etymology. As you can see, it's the online etymology dictionary. So we're going to look at the etymology of African American, as some things in real American history happened to both the natives, or Indians, as the world was referring to them at a certain point, and the so-called African Americans. There are isolated instances from the late 18th and early 19th century, but the modern use is a reinvention first attested 1969 in reference to African American Teachers Association, which became the preferred term in some circles for U.S. blacks. There's another proverb or byword for these people. By the late 1980s, see African plus American, we're going to see those. They're right up under this. Megan, 1921, reports Afro-American is now very commonly used in the Negro press. Afro-American was attested in 1853 in Freeman's publication in Canada. Africo-American, 1817 as a noun, 1826 as an adjective. They're telling you when these proverbs and bywords were, I guess, accepted, was common in abolitionist and colonization society writings. These again were proverbs and bywords that colonists used to describe certain people. I'll just word it like that. So let's get where African and American came from. Old English, Africanus in plural, native or inhabitant of African, from Latin Africanus, of Africa, African, from Africa. From Africa, meaning these people were from, or at least taken from, the land of Africa. Used of white residents of Africa from 1815, used of black residents of the U.S., excuse me, from the 18th century, when it especially meant one out from Africa, and sometimes was contrasted to native born Negro as an adjective by 1560 pertaining to African or Africans. Old English had Africanist from 1722 as of or pertaining to Black Americans. Again, that word black is another proverb or byword. And again, we're just looking at a couple of the curses to some people who fit the curses. Like I said, I know no other walk of life other than the natives that walk the trail of tears. And there is a curse that says basically you gonna walk or you gonna be on your feet till they are bare and you ain't gonna be able to stop. You gotta keep going. American, 1570s, originally one of the aboriginal peoples discovered in the Western Hemisphere by Europeans. From modern Latin Americanus, from America, the original sense is now Native Americans, which is why you'll hear me say natives, not Native Indians, Native Americans. The sense of resident of North America of European original British descent. This is where they tried to change it because it says the original sense is the Native Americans, right? Original sense means just that, the first, the beginning, the genesis of, right? But then in 1765, it was used to describe any resident of North America of European, originally British descent. They are not of the descent of the natives who were here initially. All right. But as for these African Americans, a lot of people, and I'll describe it as people of melanated descent here in America, they literally identify and refer to themselves as African American, right? When they go fill out an application, right? For ethnicity, you see African American or Black. You see Native American or Indian. You see all these bywords and proverbs for these people, which that's not their true. If you were to refer to them as anything, you refer to them by their true names and their true nationalities. Neither were their true nationalities. And with that, I have a question, just out of curiosity. I wonder if anybody's ever thought about this. Have you all ever truly sat and thought about every native, the different native groups, they were referred to as tribes. Is that irony, coincidence? Or were these people who even the Spaniards, even Columbus, referred to as the children of God? Did they understand what being of tribes meant? Did they understand that ideology and actually practice it? And where did that ideology come from now? Because I know of a nation of people that are in tribes, and these people are in one of those tribes of this nation. But just out of curiosity, has anybody ever just sat and thought about, you know what? That's a different native tribe than this native tribe and this native tribe. Why am I saying the word tribe? Even if they tell you, they will say, I am of Cherokee tribe. I am Choctaw tribe. So this isn't just an ideology. This is an actual practice. But where did that practice come from? Where did it originate from? And I say again, in the Bible, it speaks of a 12 patriarch. These 12 patriarchs are 12 tribes of one particular nation of Israel. And these people just so happen to be one of those tribes. Is that irony or coincidence? And y'all got to excuse me, but things like that are things that I take into consideration. I just have to, then I'll do research on it and see why were they insistent on being referred to as a tribe. So these people of melanated descent here in America. Let me explain to you why you're referred to as an African American. The first part of that word is because of Scipio Africanus. You're named after this Edomite. The first part of your title. First part of your title is after this Edomite. The second part, however, is after this Edomite. My people are willing to say they are a result of two Edomite males procreate, basically, for lack of better terms. I can pull some better terms, but they won't be appropriate terms. For lack of better appropriate terms. Or with the thought of using the most appropriate term. My people are okay with being told that this is the case, to the point that they literally profess, I'm African American, or I'm a color. They are okay with that as the actual reference of them. Maybe they didn't have the knowledge of where it came from. Well, now they do, if they watch this Truth for Thought. So from that, we're going to talk American history now. We done moved on up to where we can talk American history now. I'm going to let you know what this is. This is the list of Indian massacres in, guess where? North America. Good old US of A. Now, remember, 1492 was supposedly when Columbus came and sailed the ocean blue, right? So we're going to go to this list. And we're not going to even take into account the only massacre that was prior to 1492. Okay, we ain't even take that into account. We're going to go to the very first one after the year of 1492, which is the annihilation of the Atomy of Tikok. This was the actual extermination of a whole native people. Literally. You go here, it says the entire Atomy population of Tikok was reportedly killed during another Spaniard, another European. Now, this is part of America's history. Did you learn in U.S. history or even world history that this man, this Edomite, literally wiped out the entire Otomi population? These are those indigenous people. I'm gonna even show them to you. These are these natives. This Edomite killed the whole entire population of these natives. He was responsible for that. In his first expedition into Mexico. Look at the reported casualties. All Atomies, all of them. Every one of them. Not a single soul left. I read in the curses, you will be pursued by the sword until it overtaketh thee. Not one of this people survived. Real American history now. This is real. I mean, this really happened. Historically, really happened. Let's go to the very next. The Colula Massacre. Anybody? 1519. This is after. Now, first, this went from 1518 to 1519, the annihilation of the Atomy. That happened over a whole year, right? The very next year, the Colula Massacre. How many know? How many would taught this in American history? The Spanish conquest of the Aztecs, also known as the conquest of Mexico, or the Spanish-Aztec War. How many were literally taught this in American history? Kempolans reported that fortifications were being constructed around the city, and the Texans were warning the Spaniards. Cortez ordered a preemptive strike. That's a word that is used today in modern warfare. A preemptive strike. The same Cortez, this the same Spaniard, by the way. Urged by Chiaxians, the enemies of the Coolins, Cortez confronted the city leaders in the main temple. In their temple, he confronted them, alleging that they were planning to attack his men. They admitted that they had been ordered to resist by Moctezuma, but they claimed they had not followed his orders. Regardless, on command, the Spaniards and the Texans seized and killed many of the local nobles to serve as a lesson. How many would kill? 3,000 to over 30,000. Over 30,000. One year later, right now, there have been two events over 2 years. On the third year, there's a third event, the Alvarado Massacre. This is when they attacked the Aztec capital. Crazy. I didn't know about all these. And these are, the title of these things are massacre. Look at the numbers. The massacre in the Great Temple, also called the Alvarado Massacre, was an event on May the 22nd, 1520, in the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan, during the Spanish conquest of Mexico, in which the celebration of the Feast of Toxcati ended in a massacre of Aztec elites. And again, we just talking about the natives right now, and we haven't gotten very far past 1492. We've done 3 years with 3 massacres, a massacre a year. Really happened in the Americas. This is real American history. So you got the very next year, 1521. 1521. The fall. It's the fall. Same dude, Cortez. After the fall of Tenochtitlan, the remaining Aztec warriors and civilians fled. Didn't it say you will come against them? Wouldn't this a curse? You will come against them in one way and flee in 7. These natives fled the city as the Spanish allies, primarily the Texans, continued to attack even after the surrender. Didn't we read where they'll come against this nation with no regard? And we know what this nation later became. It became America. No regard for the young or old, just zero regard. Let me keep it. Even after surrender, slaughtering thousands of the remaining civilians and looting the city, the Taxitians did not spare women or children. This just literally almost reads that curse in Deuteronomy 28. This is one of the examples of the epitome of that. But these are not the only people that this happened to in this great American history. They entered houses, stealing all precious things they found, raping and then killing women, stabbing children. The survivors marched out of the city for the next 3 days. One source claims 6,000 were massacred in the town, in that one town alone. Let's look at the result. At least 40,000 civilians killed or enslaved. Wait a minute. You saying some natives were enslaved? Some natives were sold as bond men and bond women? Because I know a lot of people that say that. The tribe of Gad ain't the tribe of Gad. The tribe of Gad is not the native man. Well, if the native man fits a curse, And we understand that all those curses were to one nation. Why isn't the tribe of Gad just that, the tribe of Gad? Because yes, even the tribe of Gad went through enslavement. The proof's in the pudding. At least 40,000 civilians killed or enslaved, 100,000 to 240,000 warriors and civilians killed in the siege overall. And that's just one of the tribes of the natives. But that's just the third year recorded that I'm covering after 1492. This literally happened 1521, 1492, 30 years after Columbus sailed the ocean blue and first touched down in the quote unquote New World that couldn't have been too new because they was killing off people that were already living there and enslaving people that were already living there. The so-called or the people who've been given the proverb or the byword of Indians, the natives. This was some of the tribe of Gad. Let's keep going. And I'm not going to go over all of these. I will leave a link for this in the description because it's a lot of other stuff that I want to go over. But I want you to understand, I'll explain to you how it's explained to me in American history, right? Columbus came here and the colonies were settled in North America. Yeah, it was some Indians. It was a little flack. You know, the Indians didn't want to give up their place. It was a little flack. And they just told the Indians, well, we'll stay here. You just take the rest of the country. So they made them walk to the whole other side of the damn country. And that's pretty much the gist of what was taught to me. Now, what wasn't taught to me? When they first got here, about 1492 to 1518. Let me do the math on it. 26 years. 26 years after they first got here, they made extinct a whole tribe of natives right here in the annihilation of the Atomy of Tekoa. That same dude then was responsible for 3 straight massacres for the next 3 straight years. None of that was taught to me in American. Now I want to ask you all, did y'all learn this in American history? If y'all learned this in American history, please just type yes in the chat because I promise you. And I'm going to show you how many different massacres there were over America's history with the natives alone. And I'm going to even show you the last date of it. Look at this. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And it's still going, still going, still going, still going, still going, still going, still going. All the way up to 1915 is the last recorded, and it's called a massacre, the massacre of San Pedro de la Cueva. So even if you were taught those first 4 massacres that I spoke of, were you taught all of these? Because I promise you, I wasn't taught the first 4, let alone all the rest of those. Let alone all the rest of those. These are just from 1500 to the 1830. It's a whole nother list behind it. That's from, let me see what the dates are on this list. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now you gotta remember, all this blood that was spilled was right here on good old America's soil. So you had from 1500 to the 1830 in the first full bracket of massacres. Then you have from 1830 to 1915. As late as 1915, there were massacres still going on involving the natives. But I said we was going to touch on 2 of them. I said we was going to do the so-called Indian, or what the world calls Indians, and so-called African American. We're going to start it off with this. And I'm going to leave the link for all this. You can go and check it out for yourself. We're going to start off with this. Listen to the word, the actual type, black genocide. Genocide of people with melanated skin. Now, I would tell you, in this, it can be people from Kush, right? You would say you can make this argument. Well, Kushites are black, and Hamites, and you got a plethora. In fact, you know what? You can make the argument of it being a Cushite, Mizraimite, which is going to be from an Egyptian that's just so happened that's in America, or their father is an Egyptian, right? It can be from Put, right, which are North Africans that's over here in America. But this is where it's going to disprove that those people are even in the mix, right? Because it's going to come down to a very descriptive basis. But I want to get a little bit of this up here, and I really want to get down here. Because see, this right here is where you finna eliminate a whole bunch of those biblical nationalities that I said. Like I said, it's going to get real, real descriptive. So I just want to get a little background of why this word black genocide is used. And listen to how the world regards this. This article is about the notion. One of these days, I'm gonna define for you all what a notion is. This is not a notion. To correctly word this, it should say this article is about the fact that policies of racism against Black people in the United States amount to genocide. Yes, that is a fact. Not a notion. That is a fact. A notion is just as good as a theory. Do you have to theorize that people of melanated descent were a victim of genocide here in America? No, you don't have to theorize that. There's too much historical proof of such. That's an actual fact. For the genocide of the indigenous Black people of Namibia by Imperial Germany, see Herero and Namakwa genocide. For the decimation of the Black population in Argentina, look, they are literally showing y'all other mass massacres of the Most High's chosen people in Argentina. See Afro-Argentina, which led to the decline of the Afro-Argentine population. In the United States, Black genocide is, again, here we go with that word again, the notion that the mistreatment of African Americans by both the United States government and white Americans, both in the past and present, amounts to genocide. I'm going to ask you again, even if you just look back historically, are you reading a notion or are you reading facts historically? Are you reading a theory or are you reading facts historically? Let me just keep reading and get this little part over with. Is the notion that the mistreatment of African Americans by both the United States government and white Americans, both in the past and present, amounts to genocide? The decades of lynching. Look at this. Decades of that. Is that a notion? Am I theorizing that happened? I think there were lynchings. It's a myth. Maybe it's proven, maybe it's not, that there were lynchings. And long-term racial discrimination were first formally described as genocide by a now defunct organization, the Civil Rights Congress, in a petition which it submitted to the United States in 1951. 9 years. No, 59 years. 509 years, excuse me. After 1492. So what these people were talking about was all that time from when we were first brought over here, all the way till 1951, right? In the 1960s, Malcolm X accused the U.S. government of engaging in a genocide against Black people, citing long-term injustice, cruelty, and violence against Blacks by whites. Look at what their word is. He accused them. Was he accusing them or was he stating facts? Was it a fact that there was long time injustice towards Black people from the U.S. government? It's still going on now. So I know it was happening then. In fact, it was worse then than it is now. Cruelty is going on now. It was worse back then. How could he have been accusing them if it was worse then than it is right now? That's not an accusation, that's a fact. And violence against Blacks by whites. They literally have the nerve to say he accused them of a fact. Now I want to go down here to this. Slavery is genocide. What? Look, watch these people and how they try to be slick. This shit here is so funny. But I told Queen Paula, you've heard me say this. as slick as they try to be, you can't slick a can of oil. It's something I heard from some OGs when I was a pup. You can't slick a can of oil. You can't fool a fool, and you can't trick a trick. And I used to think, what the hell is all that mean? But now I know. Now I know. The thing is, they'll tell my people things, and this is something that my people are still guilty of. They'll tell them something, and they'll never question it, right? Still sleep. Then somebody start waking up, and they try to tell them something. They say, "Hold on," or they'll listen to them. And they say, "Okay, okay, okay." And it's just a show as they walk away. They say, "I'm finna go check on this shit. I gotta see this shit." Because last time I let that motherfucker just tell me something, it was a total and complete lie. Slavery in general and the Atlantic slave trade in particular was an archetypal example of a crime against humanity. They still won't use the word genocide, will they? That's what it was. It was a form of working people literally to death. Some of those people, but let me keep going. Because I remember I told y'all one of them curses said something about the new diseases and plagues not written of in the book, right? We gonna prove a bunch of that, a bunch of those curses. We're gonna prove, and the world is gonna prove it. That is why they kill me with the way they try to word things. And I'm sorry, I'm that meticulous, and I look at words with things like accusations, the notion of. No, these are not notions. But is that the picture you're trying to paint? What I'm talking about is a notion? No, I'm telling you about some facts. A larger category of crimes that was expanded when genocide was included in it in the 20th century, right? So, what kills me about this, right, is what this tries to imply is the reason they're saying crime against humanity is because the word genocide hadn't been applied until later on, right? The word genocide hadn't come about, basically. Yet, when it comes to the natives, I proved that in 1492, no one was being called Indians, yet they'll revert and call them that, but they won't revert and call this genocide. The Bible also speaks of hypocrites. Boy, I tell you, the hypocrisy of that. I literally read to you earlier how Indian, the word Indian wasn't even there in 1492, yet today we call them, or the world calls the natives Indians, right? Here, it literally says that it was a crime against humanity in the 19th century, and they are trying to imply to keep it that way because genocide didn't come about until the 20th century. Yet they won't just say, and now it's called genocide. They won't even, we're going to read the next sentence just to verify it. But again, no one was calling the natives Indians in 1492, yet they call them Indians today, even though the word Indian didn't come for a long time. This they want to refer to as a crime against humanity because the word genocide hadn't been, but they won't revert and say, yeah, that's genocide. The hypocrisy of that makes, but they ain't crafty counsel. And they think they slicker than a can of oil. They think they can fool a fool. They think they can trick a trick. That is what they really think. Oh, we can fool them. We can trick them. Oh, this is so slick. This go right past. This go over their head. Let me keep going. George Washington Williams popularized the concept of crimes against humanity with regards to they still won't say genocide, will they? Crimes against humanity. It sounds so sweet. Oh, soft ass way of putting it. That's the way. That's the way they always try to make they shit not stink. That's okay though. Let me let me get back to reading. Popularized the concept of crimes against humanity with regards to the history of slavery in the United States and during the Congo Free State propaganda war of the 1890s. The laws of humanity were included in the Martin's Clause of the Hague Conventions, and as a result, they were legally enshrined in international law, right? I want to go to this next because I want to get to a number. Canadian scholar Adam Jones characterized the mass death of millions of Africans during the Atlantic slave trade as a genocide. Now, this is an Edomite. I'm going to show him to you. This Edomite is willing to refer to it as a genocide. Right? Due to the fact it was one of the worst holocausts in human history because it results in 15 to 20 million deaths, according to one estimate. And he also stated that arguments to the contrary, such as the argument it was in slave owners' interest to keep slaves alive, not to exterminate them, is mostly sophistry due to the fact that the killing and destruction were international. Whatever the incentives to preserve survivors of the Atlantic Passage for labor exploitation. That number, 15 to 20 million deaths, is horribly skewed. I've told people this before. Telling part of a lie is just as good as telling a lie. So telling part of the truth is just as good as telling a lie. So he told one truth, right? He said this is definitely genocide. But then he turned around and say, because it resulted in 15 to 20 million deaths. So that's part of the truth, right? I'll give the same example I've given people before. I walk to the corner store. Everybody in the neighborhood knows me. I walk to the corner store. I see a dude that owes me some money. I walk up to him. He say, he ain't got my money. I shoot him. Right? I wait. He's still alive. I stand there and wait. Police get there. They say, well, you here when this happened? I say, yeah, I was here. They say, well, what happened? I said, man, the man got shot. Y'all gonna let him die? He looking like he's dying. So they turn their attention from me. They turn their attention to him, right? I walk back to the house. Again, everybody in the neighborhood know me. The dude eventually dies, right? They go inside, they look at the surveillance tape. They see this. Sure enough, I was there. But not only was I there, I was the trigger man. They simply walk back outside the house with a picture of me and say, hey, do y'all know what this dude? Y'all know this dude? Yeah, I know him. They literally tell him to the T where I stay, right? They come to my door. The first thing they gonna ask me is, why did you lie to us? Well, I just told you part of the truth. But it's just as good as a lie. Well, in fact, when I go for arraignment in court, the first thing that the prosecutor is going to say, because they want to taint, they want to discredit the defendant is going to be, upon initial investigation, the defendant lied to investigators. That's going to be their opening statement. So part of the truth is just as good as a lie. So he told part of the truth. He said that this is, in fact, a genocide. But then he didn't tell the full truth, and I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it right now. He said, here you see 15 to 20 million deaths, right? Death toll from the slave trade, the African Holocaust, it's the same thing he called it, right? 60 million. He shout 40 just off the title alone. He shout not 40 people, 40 million. Again, that number was horribly skewed. But let's get a little bit about this. Let's just see. The largest slave trade in history of the world was created by white Christian Europeans. That matches with pretty much every damn thing else that I've come across. But it was over as many as 60 million Africans would be killed for the profit of white Christian imperialism. Now, you see where it says as many as 60 million. It gets a little more. Come down here, it says the estimate of the number killed during the transatlantic slave trade varies anywhere from 6 to 150 million. So let's go and look at that original number. It was 15 to 20 million. When you have a number as high as 150 million, not only is it skewed, it is severely skewed. And I don't know who the fuck did the counting for them, but they weren't the ones that did the counting here. There is no way you can make up for over 130 million. Oh, we made a mistake with them. 130 million. You made a mistake and didn't count them? How the hell you make a mistake like that? But you did make a mistake by counting 20 million. I want to go back and read some more of this real quick. Huge numbers of people died being marched to the coast of Africa from the interior, as well as in an endless series of wars produced for the quest for new slaves. So they was killing people to be slaves. We was fighting back. But again, that curse said we'd fight, then we'd be fleeing 7 different ways. And hey, proof is in the picture. Proof is in the pudding. So there were wars over in Africa for slaves, right? A lot of people that would have been slaves were killed during those wars, right? Millions more would die in concentration camps at both ends of the journey. So they had some of our forefathers in concentration camps there in Africa prior to journeying over here to the Americas. Then when we got there, there were concentration camps there to hold us till we hit the option block. So it was millions that would be dying in between those two places, right? Still associated with American history. Not by any means because it happened, because that concentration camp was over in Africa. No, that concentration was in Africa for a specific person. For a specific purpose, to get those slaves over here to America. That's part of American history. All right, let me keep going. And significant numbers will die due to the appalling conditions on the slave ships. The financial profits of this slave trade helped the economic foundations of America. It was not just the South. Northern business interests made huge profits too. I don't give a damn if you was in the northernmost colony. Could have been in the northernmost colony. You benefit off of it. Same damn thing. It is difficult to estimate the exact death toll that resulted from the transatlantic slave trade. There weren't exactly people measuring these numbers at the time. What we looked at are historical estimates of how many people may have died in capture during the voyage at sea and due to disease, starvation, and backbreaking labor in the New World. But what is certain is that the slave trade was a genocide. Was a genocide. So at this point, I want to ask Amalek again. Yes, I'll have to tell the truth. I can't lie, as I've repented for lying. I can't do that sin again. Your people did go through a genocide. Y'all did. Y'all did, but it did not. Per the Bible, it said that genocide would overtake you. Y'all lost about 6 million. 6 million. Give or take a million. Or no, it may be 60 million. It's either 6 or 60. I don't quote me on it. It's either 6 or 60 million, right? But it was just a straight genocide. You all fit none of the other curses. In fact, none of the curses, really. None of the curses. It was a curse that the people of Israel, the Israelites, wouldn't see their land. If you all are those people, why are you all in that land? That ain't supposed to happen till a certain day. It's a whole bunch of questions Amalek would have to answer, right? Let's go back to that previous one, right? Because it says lynching and other they're talking about all the different things. Jim Crow as a type of genocide, meaning the injustices as a type of genocide. And you all can come again. I'm gonna have the links for it, but I'm gonna kind of push on through because there are certain things that I do want to definitely talk about. Okay. So it says lynching and other racial killings, right? And up in the beginning of this, it says this is a notion. Again, this is their words. This is a notion that there are types of genocides that affected people of melanated descent, especially the ones that were brought over for slavery. It went on and broke down which people of melanated descent it was, right? Walter Johnson has written that the first lynching to occur in the United States was that of Francis McIntosh, right? A free man of black and white ancestry. He argued that this lynching ignited a series of them, all with the goal of ethnic cleansing. Y'all ever heard of whitewashing? Ethnic cleansing. And that Abraham Lincoln, who was not yet president, was more concerned by the vigilantism of the lynching than the murder itself. Lincoln referred to McIntosh as obnoxious in his 1838 speech, later dubbed the Lyceum Address. According to the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, 4,400 Black people killed in lynchings and other racial killings between 1877 and 1950. Yet again, Israel, I want to tell you that number is skewed, and I want to go improve it. I want to go improve it. Statistics for lynchings. Statistics for lynchings. Now, remember, they said that back then they didn't have nobody that was really keeping up with numbers like that as far as the slavery, right? The whole, from the beginning of slavery to people being in concentration camps over here and people being in concentration camps over here and the voyage in between. And they didn't have nobody that was keeping up with those numbers. But let's look at this. Statistics for lynchings have traditionally come from three sources. There's three sources primarily, none of which covered the entire historical time period of lynching in the United States. So there very well are, not there is a chance, there very well are lynchings that are not included on here. Now remember, the number that we saw was 4,400, right? 4,400, 4,400, right? Before 1882, no reliable statistics are assembled on a national level. In 1882, the Chicago Tribune began to systematically tabulate lynchings. In 1908, the Tuskegee Institute began a systemic collection of lynching reports under the direction of Monroe Work. This is Mr. Work. They refer to him as an African American, quite naturally. At its Department of Records, drawn primarily from newspaper reports, Monroe Work published his first independent tabulation in 1910, although his report also went back to the starting year, 1882. Finally, in 1912, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, started an independent record of lynching. The number of lynchings from each source vary slightly, with the Tuskegee Institute figures being considered conservative by some historians. There is no count of recorded lynchings which claim to be precise, and the numbers vary depending on the sources which are cited, the years which are considered by those sources, and the definition which are given to specific incidents by those sources. Literally, what they literally just said was, it depends on the years that the person said the lynchings happened and what the person considers by definition as a lynching. Their opinion. Do you think this was a lynching? Is it your opinion, or do you believe that this too had been a lynching? All right. Not an understanding. An understanding is based on facts. You get an understanding from facts, right? But let's keep going. The Tuskegee Institute has recorded the lynchings of 3,446 blacks and the lynchings of 1,297 whites, all of which occurred between 1882 and 1968, with the peak occurring in the 1890s at a time of economic stress in the South and increasing political suppression of blacks. A 6-year study published in 2017 by the Equal Justice Initiative found that 4,084 black men, women, and children fell victim to racial terror lynching in 12 southern states between 1877 and 1950, besides 300 that took place in other states. So that would be 4,084 plus 300 is 4,384, right? Remember, the last article we read, it said 4,400. Let's keep reading. During this period, Mississippi's 654 lynchings led the lynchings, which occurred in all of the southern states. The records of Tuskegee Institute remain the single most complete source of statistics and records on this crime since 1882 from all states. Although modern research has illuminated new incidents and studies focused on specific states in isolation, as of 1959, which was the last time the Tuskegee Institute's annual report was published, a total of 4,733 persons had died by lynching since 1882. The last lynching recorded by the Tuskegee Institute was that of Emmett Till in 1955. In the 65 years leading up to 1947, at least one lynching was reported every year. 1882 to 1901 saw the highest period of lynchings with an average of over 150 each year. 1892 saw the most number of lynchings in a year, 231 or 3.25 per 1 million people. Every 1 million people, 3 people, 3.25 person were getting hanged. After 1924, cases steadily declined, and with less than 30 a year. That is what they consider a decline. 30 hangings a year. Hell, it ain't but 12 months in the world's calendar. That would mean it's 3 a month. You might want to say every 1st, 15th, and 30th of every month. Let me keep going. The decreasing rate of yearly lynchings was faster outside the South and for white victims of lynching. Lynching became more of a Southern phenomenon. If anybody knows me, they know that word is some bullshit. Just like irony and coincidence, there's no such thing. That shit wasn't a phenomenon. You know exactly what it was. It was a lynching. It was a lot of lynchings. It was hangings, not a phenomenon. And a racial one that overwhelmingly affected Black victims. According to the Tuskegee Institute, 38% of victims of lynching. This is for people of melanated skin. Listen, just listen. According to the Tuskegee Institute, 38% of victims of lynchings were accused of murder. Accused of murder. Here, the word accused is used correctly because they were simply accused. No proof. You can just walk up. He killed her. Let's hang him. They could just do that. Okay, let me keep going. 16% accused of rape. 7% accused for attempting rape. 6% were accused of felonious assault. 7% were accused for theft. 2% were for insults to white people. And 24% were accused of miscellaneous offenses or no offense at all. That's what made up this 4,733 that you see right here, lynchings in American history. That's what made that up. So now I want to go to this. We looked at all those things in regards to the natives and the so-called Negro, so-called African American, so-called black person in America, right? Mass racial violence in the United States. And I'm not going to hold y'all up too much for this. But I do want to look at if just anything, just the title of some of these things, racial and ethnic cleansing. Racial and ethnic cleansing was committed on a large scale during this period of time in the history of the United States. This was in regards to those natives and these so-called African Americans. But these same people today, they say they free. I don't get it. How are you free? Explain to me, how are you free? If you say you're free and you're in the chat, please type it. Explain to me, how are you free? Particularly against Native Americans. The natives who were forced off their land and relocated to reservations, along with Native Americans, Chinese Americans in the Pacific Northwest, and African Americans throughout the United States were rounded up and expunged from towns under threat of mob rule, and white mobs frequently intended to harm their African American targets. I don't even know why the fuck they even put this Chinese Americans or Pacific Northwest in here. The people that they're literally keying in on is Native Americans, who are also here, and African Americans, who are also here. But they gotta try to dress it up. Trying to slick a can of oil, fool a fool, or trick a trick. Genocide of California's indigenous people, anti-immigrant violence, lynching error, and race riots. Israel, we can go on and on and on about these things of American history that they really, really don't teach you. And that they teach you is so mundane. They're not going to go in depth at all. Again, America shit can't stink. The forefounders of America, they shit can't stink. The people in America right now that's running America right now, they shit can't stink. But look at what this place just did. Right? This place just brought Brittany Griner and exchanged her for a dude with the nickname of the dealer of death. But they shit don't stink. I promise you. It'll take a lot to prove the latter. It'll take a lot to prove the latter. So let me stop sharing my screen because we've been going in on this for a minute now. I want to go back to the Bible real fast, just real fast, right? Really, really fast. Cause see, there were things that were written in the Bible just for the case of things like this, the spilling of this much blood, right? I want to start with Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 6. And it reads, whoso sheddeth man's by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man, right? And I also want to get Numbers 35 and 33. Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33. And it reads, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Now, keep that in mind. Both times it's saying, he who shed the blood, their blood must be shed, right? Just keep that in mind. Let's go to Psalms 109. Psalms 109. Psalms 109, and we're going to get verse 14. Let the iniquity of his fathers be remembered with the Lord, and not the sin of his mothers be blotted out. Because the people that did this, the biblical nationalities, and I say that plural, that did this, they still exist today. And this is what they'll say. But I didn't do it. No, but what you have to understand, this is a fact. That's why I use the word understand. Is the iniquity of his father. I mean, the things that your fathers did and your father's fathers. And you can go back as many fathers as you like. But for their iniquities, Most High never forgot. In fact, I want to go to Isaiah 14 and 21. I'm going to go to this one first. This one usually I just hold as the dagger. We're going to go to Isaiah. We're going to go here first. We're going to go here first and then support the dagger with some little army Swiss knives. Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the earth with cities. Prepare slaughter. You know why? Slaughter must be prepared for the children, for the iniquities of their father, because when your father defiled the soil, even the soil of America, with blood. See, the Bible said that that man's blood must be shed. Well, let's say that man is passed. His blood runs through you as well. That's why it says of the iniquity of their fathers. See, that keeps passed on from generation to generation. That blood keeps flowing from generation to generation. And you ain't exempt. The Most High ain't forgot. This is to all the biblical nationalities that played any role in that bloodshed. Any and all of the biblical nationalities that played any role in the bloodshed of his chosen people. But let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 42. We're going to get a few more, just a few more verses. Deuteronomy 32 and 42, and we're going to get ready to close this out. 32 and 42. All right. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the beginning of revenge upon the enemy. See, what you all have to understand, all these other biblical nationalities that play a role, what y'all have to understand is the Most High has not forgotten. But see, when he starts swinging his sword, it's a lot of folks got a lot to answer for. And again, you can say, but I didn't do it. But did your father? Or did your father? Or did your father's father? Or did your father's father's father? It goes, all that same blood is flowing all the way through from generation to generation. The blood didn't just say, I'm going to skip your generation. No, it kept going, kept flowing. And I want to get Psalms 103 and 6. The last one. Last one I'm going to get is Psalms 103 and verse 6. We're going to see what it say. Going to see what it say. The Lord hath executed righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. So when this happens, not if, but when this happens, this will be a righteous judgment. Again, you got to understand, his children were oppressed. And your forefathers had some part to do with it in some shape, form, or fashion. Way back in Genesis 9 and 6, it said, if a man shed blood, then that man's blood is required. I read 2 more scriptures that literally say the iniquities of your father, because that blood, hey, your father's blood flows through you, right? Then if you're a father, that same blood flows through your son or daughter. And it continues on and on. So for the iniquities of the fathers, no matter how far back you go with those fathers. With that, Israel, like I said, I want to start by looking at the background heading towards the foreground. And I did find some things that I didn't learn in American history. When looking at some of these things, because I too was a victim of, well, not a victim. I too was someone at one point in time that I was told something and I didn't truly research it. But now I'm not that old man. I'm a new man. And you can't just tell me anything. In fact, the shit that I was once told, I now go and research it to verify it. So I'm hoping that y'all learn something. Again, I have links to all those particular articles. I'll have the links in the description. Also, again, I have the link to the GoFundMe in the description as well. I will be departing on the 12th and actually arriving in Philadelphia on the 13th. I will be on the 13th fasting and praying. I do ask that if you can be charitable, please do. If you can't, that's fine. Just keep our beloved sister and brother King Michael and Queen Alicia in prayer. And I personally will be fasting and praying on the 13th. I do invite any and all of you, please join me in fasting and praying on December the 13th. Also keep in prayer our beloved sister, Queen Shay. I've been keeping you in prayer, Queen. I know we've been talking, a lot lately. I've been keeping you in prayer, and I will continue to keep you in prayer, as I do know that the date for your projected date for that event is next year in January. I do ask the nation, please also keep Queen Shay in prayer. I will be there with King Michael and Queen Alicia until the 15th. So I'll be there for 2 days after her procedure. And I'll be keeping tabs on her and checking on her and making sure he's okay. As I said, this has been an ordeal that's been going on ever since February, and it has been mounting on the both of them, right? Because they are the epitome of what the Bible says as far as a married couple. They are intertwined as one. They truly are. And each one can tell when it's getting kind of rough on the other one with the continued passing of time with this. So we're prayerful that this will end this particular situation for them. Again, keep both King Michael and Queen Alicia in prayer, and also keep Queen Shay in prayer. And actually, in all, like I said at the beginning of this Truth for Thought, just keep the whole entire nation of Israel in prayer. The righteous, the people that are walking, that are doing the works and exhibit the faith. Keep them wrapped in prayer, Israel. With that, Israel, it's your brother Marcus G. Be it the Most High's will. Until next time, I bid you Shabbat Shalom. I love you, and I'm out.